All right, so I got a question to all of you. Two questions, really. First of all, how many of you know who Bodie Hodge is? If you watch Ham and Eggs with Paulogia, then you probably know Bodhi, right? The guy who every episode tries his dangdest to get love and affection from Ken because, well, he's dating his daughter. That guy. Okay, now we've set the stage. If you watch Paulogia, you know Bodhi. You know him pretty well. I have a question, another question for you. This is the second one. I want you to pretend that you're in Nazi Germany, okay? Now, if you're in Nazi Germany and you are trying to protect the life of a friend of yours who's Jewish, what would you do if a random Nazi soldier just came into your house and asked you if you were holding on to a Jew? Just one Jewish person. But what would you say? Now, if you're a decent human being, you would probably have two answers to this. Scenario A, is this a trap? Do they already know you've got a person and they're just trying to entrap you? In which case, it's a matter of, do I protect myself when my friend's going to die in any case? Or do they not know, and do I take that gamble, and do I try to protect both of us? Those are the sane options. The sane options of self-preservation because my friend's already screwed, and preserve both of us because it's the right thing to do. That one is actually like the morally correct answer. Okay, now, Bodie Hodge has a different answer. A very different answer. We're going to go over his answer, okay? You're not going to like this. You're really not. We're gonna do it like this so you guys can actually read along with me. Okay. So, we're gonna begin. Bodhi begins this by saying, "Is a lie ever justified? Should we lie if it means protecting other people?" Bodie Hodge, from AIG United States, shares a thought-provoking email exchange. The following is an email exchange between a reader and Bodie Hodge. You just said that twice. So, the first bit of this email is, I almost hate to do this, because I know how much email you guys handle. But I wanted to respond to Bodhi Hodge's Contradictions article on Rahab's Lie. Bodhi is almost always right on the mark and is probably my favorite feedback man. But in this case, I have to take exception to his saying that it is always wrong to lie. The 9th commandment said that we should never bear false witness against our neighbors. But if the Nazis are looking for Jews, and you know where they are, it would not be wrong to lie in order to protect them. This is the concept of a virtuous lie, mind you. Nor would this be bearing false witness against someone. I think the same way Israeli midwives lied to Egyptians about the birthing of male babies in Moses' day. I know it's a rare exception, but there may be other circumstances where it might be appropriate to lie. Obviously, 99% of the time it's wrong. But keep up the good work, all of you. Your ministry is the most awesome in the world. It just blows me away. All right. So, go ahead and just take all that in. There are a bunch of factors at play here. There's obviously the issue of bearing false witness against someone, which is more... back then was more about don't lie in court, like don't lie under oath. That's what it's referring to. There's also the issue of this is a lie that if you don't tell it, people die. Like, let's just pretend that this is the good scenario, right? And you're not being entrapped. The Nazi soldiers literally don't know where these Jewish people are. And the only right answer is to protect their lives because they haven't done anything wrong. They merely existed. That's a righteous lie. It's a virtuous lie. There's nothing wrong with a lie like that it literally does nothing but preserve human life. Okay. Now, the response. Thank you for contacting Answers in Genesis, and thank Thank you for the comments. I know this can be a touchy subject, but please bear with me as I try to explain. Keep in mind that I, too, am not perfect, but will try to answer as scripturally as possible. Also, sorry for the length, but this feedback will allow me the breadth that I did not have with the contradiction article on Rahab on the website. Bearing false witness is a lie. In Hebrew, the word for false is shakir, which literally means lie. It is derived from the Hebrew word shakar, which means deal falsely, be false, trick, and cheat. There are many verses in the Bible that reaffirm the 9th commandment, and a couple here. You shall not steal or deal falsely nor lie to one another, in Leviticus. Alright, but that's not the same thing as a commandment. And then in 1 John, I have not written to you because you do not know the truth, but because you know it, and that no lie is of the truth. The devil is the father of lies, and one lie to God, the Holy Spirit, was worthy of instant death. Paul points out that even if he were to lie for the glory of God, he would be deemed a sinner for such an act. Now, can I go ahead and point out that it doesn't matter? Right? Like, none of that matters. And would you like to know why? Because from the Christian perspective, if you exist as a human being, you exist as a sinner, and there's no way around it. So Paul, arguing that he would look like a sinner if he lied, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? If you're going to have the concept of original sin, then you're a sinner no matter what. It doesn't matter if you do something that makes you look like a sinner or not. You're just a sinner. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's where you are. That's what happened. Now, from a biblical perspective, obviously, that doesn't mean go ahead and sin all you want. But the point of saying it makes me look like a sinner, that's stupid. In light of such passages, does a righteous lie really exist? The most common example sent to me was envisioning the Holocaust and being placed in the position of lying to potentially protect someone's life. Like most, if placed in such a difficult situation, it would be very difficult. You just, okay, yep, if placed in a difficult position, it would be difficult. I imagine it would be. In fact, I could never be sure what I would do, especially if it were a loved one. But, and there's always a but. Every time there is a but. But consider that we are all already sentenced to die because we are sinners. It's gonna happen regardless. If a lie keeps someone alive for a matter of moments compared to eternity, was the lie, which is high treason against the Creator, worth it? Just soak that in. I want you to imagine for a moment. You have a friend who's Jewish, and you're in the middle of the Holocaust, and Nazis are coming, and you look at them, and you just grab them, and you put them in front of your house for the Nazis to kill. And when he asks why, you go, you were gonna die anyway. You were already gonna die. It was gonna happen regardless. By this logic, there's no reason for us to even do things like give people medical care. There's no reason for us to do anything to save a person's life. Because they were going to die anyway. What reason do we have to save someone's life except that they are going to die? Also, mind you, if someone is Jewish from the Christian perspective, then they're going to burn in hell when they die. Because you, as the Christian, who had the opportunity to show God's love to them, did not convert them to Christianity. Them, as the Jew, got to get murdered by the Nazis before they got to convert to Christianity. Which means not only are you morally bankrupt here, you're morally bankrupt from a Christian perspective too, because you just sent somebody to death without them being able to be converted away from Christianity. Also, J. Francis, there's no such thing as non-human logic. Logic is an invention of humans. Don't play that game with me. It would be like sitting in a cell on death row, and when the guards come to take your roommate to the electric chair, you lie to the guards and say you don't know where the person went, while your roommate is hiding under their covers in the bed. Does it really help? Yes. Depending on the situation, your person here might actually, functionally, have a way. Like, let's pretend that this is somebody who has the ability to escape. Lying there might save their life, especially if they are actually innocent of whatever got them on death row. In any case, though, I'm not going to have the argument with people in my chat during this section about the fact that logic is a human construction. You do that later. Also, though, it's not the same thing. This article, if somebody's in death row, in an entrapped environment, it's not the same thing as somebody in an open environment in the middle of Germany who might be able to get out of Germany and survive all of this persecution. Not the same thing as being trapped within the walls of a death row cell. Is it worth sinning against God to try to buy a moment of time next to eternity? Well, from a Christian perspective, maybe not. But that's the problem with it being a Christian perspective. There's no way for you to even know that this eternity exists. And again, from a Christian perspective, if you are trying to be a good Christian and convert people to be a Christian, believe me, the last thing that's going to make somebody who's not of your faith convert is you sending them to death. There's nothing. If I'm in a situation where somebody is telling me that I need to worship their God, and I explain to them that for cultural reasons or what have you, I'm not going to because I don't believe in their version of God, the last thing that's going to get me to convert is by them being a good example of a good Christian by sending me to a death camp. Now, notice how long this article goes on. We're going to stick to the areas here that deal with the Nazis. I have the Control F sitting here. But consider how long this article goes on. How long Bodhi has to twist and contort himself around the idea that it's okay to send a friend or a loved one to a death camp just so you can remain personally pure. Consider this carefully. In the situation of a Nazi beating on the door, we have assumed a lie would save a life. But we really don't know. So one would be opting to lie and disobey God without the certainty of saving a life. Keep in mind that all are ultimately condemned to die physically. Besides, whether one lied or not may or may not have stopped the Nazi soldiers from searching the house anyway. Mind, you don't have any guarantees with anything. Literally, nothing you do is guaranteed at all. This idea that it's not guaranteed 100% to save your friend's life when you lie shouldn't even factor into the conversation. I told you in the very beginning there were two possible scenarios here. Either they didn't know and you're trying to bluff them, or they do know and they're trying to trap you. There are obviously other variables. You don't know if they're going to search the house like Bodhi says, but that doesn't matter. The question is it better, morally, for you to try to preserve the life of your friend, or for you to throw them under the bus and them die? Even if it's a maybe, there's nothing wrong with that. If you've got a person who's in poverty, and they're starving to death, handing them a cheeseburger right now might not get them out of poverty. It might not even save their life, but is there a reason not to try? Is there a reason not to be, another biblical concept, a good Samaritan? I don't think there is. I really don't think there is. But let's go ahead and move on to his conclusion. Let's see what Bodhi's conclusion is, because there's no reason for us to go through the entire section and see all the different ways in which he can try desperately to make it make sense to his friend that he's willing to send to a death camp. Naturally, their fear of God led them to refuse the order of murder, in the case of Exodus 1:15-22. It makes more sense to me that they could have informed the Hebrew wives that the Pharaoh had commanded, and thus many of the Israelite women were giving birth before the midwives would arrive, so they would not be in the position of killing the child. Perhaps the midwife took their time as well. That would have allowed the children to survive the midwives and speak the truth to Pharaoh. What would make pregnant mothers more vigorously or lively to have children born? Make them aware that if they do not give birth quickly, their child's life may be in danger. There are any number of ways mothers and midwives could have avoided this. And specifically, he's talking about when the Pharaoh was killing Jewish children in the Bible. You know, the whole reason that Moses had to be put in a basket. That's the thing that he's referring to here. Bodhi's answer to how to make firstborn children survive is to literally just tell the women to give birth faster. He obviously knows nothing about childbirth. He knows nothing about actual Holocaust situations. He knows nothing about genocides. He does nothing but literally pass the buck off. The Pharaoh's killing everybody who's a child? Well, just give birth faster so that you can get the children out of there faster. Oh, the Nazis are coming to kill the Jews? Well, just don't lie to them. That would make you unclean to God. There's a couple of problems with this. I think we've laid out a few, but I'll lay out a few more. If your God's version of morality is one that necessitates that somebody would go to hell, or that somebody needs to die or be tortured or sent to a death camp, then screw your God's version of morality. If your God exists, then I believe that the only moral thing to do is engage in deicide. Straight up, engage in deicide. If these are the mandates of your Lord, then we need to figure out exactly how to kill your God. Your God is a yandere anime schoolgirl Hitler who likes to play jigsaw games with people. Kill it with fire. And if you believe that all these things are moral, if you are the type of person who would willingly assist in a genocide just so you can remain some semblance of morally pure, then I don't think you have a leg to stand on when talking about anybody else's morality. But, with all that said, what did you think of this whole topic? What did you think of Bodhi's attempts to twist and comport himself around the idea that he would, in fact, let one of his friends be murdered by Nazis just so he could stay pure in the face of his genocidal maniac of a yandere god? What do you think? I know what I think. I've already said all of it here. But with all that said, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section below. Please hit the like button, and as always, everyone, please insert end of video tagline here.